I'm Nat. I'm a theologian, and today I'm going to be reading through the book of Job. I will be using the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. It is my favorite translation. I recommend it. One note that I would like to make is that this book uses he, him pronouns for God, and I personally prefer to use God pronouns. So you'll notice a little bit of a discrepancy between what I'm reading and what I'm saying, and that's because I'm reading it verbatim. I just want you to know that I don't necessarily agree with that part of the translation. Job is in the Old Testament, and it belongs to the section of canon called wisdom literature, which means that it has as its focus a reflection on universal human concerns, especially the understanding of individual experiences and the maintenance of ordered relationships that lead both to success on the human plane and to divine approval. So I really like Job because I think that it's a fantastic example of wisdom literature. I also find it interesting because it presents a debate around how God can work on earth and the idea of suffering and how it affects the person involved and why it affects that person. Another thing I really like about Job, as you'll see, is that it shows really well how a debate can evolve and progress as ideas are picked up from the people that you're debating with. So, to drop this into context, Job, who is the main character of this story, was a God-fearing man. He was rich. He had a huge family, a lot of livestock, a lot of land, a lot of servants, and he would frequently do burnt offerings or sacrifices for his children because he wasn't sure if they were being devout enough. So that is who Job is as a person. Now, in heaven, one day, the Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil." Then Satan answered the Lord, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a fence around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand now and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face." So Satan is saying, why does Job even fear God? He has no reason to. Let's give him a reason. And the Lord said to Satan, "Very well, all that he has is in your power. Only do not stretch out your hand against him." So God gives Satan permission to essentially ruin Job's life. But Job himself is to remain unharmed so that they can see the effects of this suffering on Job. And Job suffers. His whole family, except for his wife, is killed. He loses all of his livestock, all of his land, all of his servants. Everything is taken away from him. But it's noted in all of this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrongdoing. So he remains God-fearing. And Satan ends up coming to the Lord and saying, "Okay, so ruining his life didn't do much. Can we touch him now and see if afflicting him with sores will change his God-fearing ways?" But still, Job says, well, God does good for us, and God does bad for us, and that's that. And he continues not to sin. Eventually, Job gets into a discussion with 3 of his friends. They're trying to figure out why Job would be given so much suffering and misery if he wasn't a sinner and he already feared God? Had he been doing something wrong this whole time? Or maybe was he actually not with God? The friends come together, mourn for a week, and then they have the previously mentioned debate. Job starts this off by opening his mouth and cursing the day of his birth. And by doing this, he's essentially asking, why didn't I die at birth if this is what my life has come to? If my piety and my God-fearing ways brought me to misery anyway, then what was the point of living my life in fear of God? It seems to have done nothing. Job's friends are like, yeah, you know what? Good point. And they talk it over. I'll skip ahead to my favorite section in chapter 20. Up to this point, Job has just been complaining that he's gotten no justice from God for all the horrible things he's experienced, despite the fact that he was a loyal believer. He's saying, oh, it's terrible. I've lost all of my friends and all of my relatives. My breath is repulsive to my wife. I am loathsome to my own family. Even young children despise me. When I rise, they talk against me. All my intimate friends abhor me, and those whom I love have turned against me. My mom has this rhyme that's like, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, I'm gonna eat some worms. And that's essentially the mindset that Job is in right now. But Job's friends don't love this mindset, and they start out by telling us why. Zophar the Naamathite answered him, "Pay attention. My thoughts urge me to answer because of the agitation within me. I hear censure that insults me, and a spirit beyond my understanding answers me." He's like, hey, you're straight up insulting me when you're saying that you have no friends left. Am I not your friend? I'm still standing here. And yet, I still have things to share with you. And he goes on to share them. Do you not know this from old, ever since mortals were placed on earth, that the exulting of the wicked is short, and the joy of the godless is but for a moment? The wicked aren't going to have eternal happiness. Even though they mount up as high as the heavens, and their head reaches to the clouds, they will perish forever, like their own dung. Those who have seen them will say, where are they? They will fly away like a dream and not be found. They're not going to have eternal life. They're godless. They will be chased away like a vision of the night. The eye that saw them will see them no more, nor will their place behold them any longer. Their children will seek the favor of the poor, and their hands will give back their wealth. Not only will the wicked come to a bad end, but their children also aren't going to have favor forever. God is going to bring some sort of justice down upon the wicked. And key, their bodies, once full of youth, will lie down in the dust with them. They're still gonna die. Everybody dies. Though wickedness is sweet in their mouth, though they hide it under their tongues, though they are loath to let it go and hold it in their mouths, yet their food is turned in their stomachs. It is the venom of asps within them. They swallow down riches and vomit them up again. God casts them out of their bellies. They will suck the poison of asps. The tongue of a viper will kill them. They will not look on the rivers, the streams flowing with honey and curds. They will not give back the fruit of their toil, and will not swallow it down. From the profit of their trading they will get no enjoyment. For they have crushed and abandoned the poor. They have seized a house that they did not build. The joys of the wicked are not true joys. They're not correctly ordered desires, so to speak. They're harming the poor around them. And pretty key is this next line. They knew no quiet in their bellies. In their greed they let nothing escape. There was nothing left after they had eaten. Therefore, their prosperity will not endure. He's pointing out that if you're godless, then you're probably not following the laws that were set for the people, which, if you look back into the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, there are laws laid out. And one of them says that if you have a field of crops, like a field of wheat, you have to leave the edges, the gleanings, behind for the poor to come by and eat so that they still have food as well. But Zophar is pointing out that the wicked aren't doing this. They're breaking the laws, so they are not going to be rewarded for doing so. In full sufficiency, they will be in distress. They'll have everything, but they'll still be in distress. All the force of misery will come upon them. To fill their belly to the full, God will send his fierce anger into them and rain it upon them as their food. They will flee from an iron weapon, a bronze arrow will strike them through. It is drawn forth and comes out of their body, and the glittering point comes out of their gall. Terrors come upon them. These are warnings, things that will happen to the wicked. So I'll skip ahead a bit to Job's response. We're now on chapter 21, if you are reading along with me. Job answered, "Listen carefully to my words, and let this be your consolation. Bear with me, and I will speak. Then after I have spoken, mock on." So he's saying, hey, I'll address your concerns one at a time. Wait until I'm done. You'll see I'll get to everything that you brought up. A great way to begin in a debate. As for me, is my complaint addressed to mortals? Why should I not be impatient? He's like, I'm complaining to God. I'm not complaining to mortals. I don't care what happens in the mortal realm. I care what's happening in the heavenly realm to rain this down upon me. Why shouldn't he be impatient? God is all-powerful and exists outside of time. God should be able to address Job's complaints. Look at me and be appalled, and lay your hand upon your mouth. When I think of it, I am dismayed, and shuddering seizes my flesh. Why do the wicked live on, reach old age, and grow mighty in their power? It's like, the wicked seem to have a pretty good lot in life, though. Their children are established in their presence, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, and no rod of God is upon them. Their bull breeds without fail, their cow calves and never miscarries. They send out their little ones like a flock, and their children dance around. I'm saying they have a great life, and then in peace they go down to Sheol. They just die. They have a great life, and then they die. And why do I, a God-fearing man, as Job sees himself to be, why do I not get that as well? Job goes on to say, what do the wicked care for their household after them when the number of their months is cut off? They'll just die. They don't care what happens after they die. Will any teach God knowledge, seeing that he judges those that are on high? One dies in full prosperity, being wholly at ease and secure, his loins full of milk and the marrow of his bones moist. Another dies in bitterness of soul, never having tasted of good. They lie down alike in the dust, and the worms cover them. This goes back to Job's initial question, when he's asking, what was the point of my life? Why didn't I just die at birth? He's saying it seems like there's no difference. Either you're prosperous or you're not prosperous. In the end, you die no matter what. So Job is saying that it seems like his actions had no effect on whether he would die in prosperity or not. And so he's questioning what the point of being faithful has been for all these years. He goes on to say, "Oh, I know your thoughts and your schemes to wrong me. For you say, 'Where is the house of the prince? Where is the tent in which the wicked lived?' Have you not asked those who travel the roads, and do you not accept their testimony? That the wicked are spared in the day of calamity and are rescued in the day of wrath?" He's like, haven't you talked to anybody? This seems to be true the world over. Who declares their way to their face, and who repays them for what they have done? When they are carried to the grave, a watch is kept over their tomb. The clods of the valley are sweet to them. Everyone will follow after, and those who went before are innumerable. How then will you comfort me with empty nothings? There is nothing left of your answers but falsehood. Remember, Job isn't addressing his complaint to mortals. He's saying, how are you, another man, going to make me feel better when only God can answer my questions now? He's asking questions that have to deal with suffering and the afterlife. Only God truly knows what the answer to those questions is. Chapter 23. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered, "Can a mortal be of use to God? Can even the wisest be of service to him? Is it any pleasure to the Almighty if you are righteous, or is it gain to him if you make your ways blameless? Is it for your piety that he reproves you and enters into judgment with you? Is not your wickedness great? There is no end to your iniquities. For you have exacted pledges from your family for no reason, and stripped the naked of their clothing. You have given no water to the weary to drink, and you have withheld bread from the hungry. The powerful possess the land, and the favored live in it. You have sent widows away, empty-handed, and the arms of the orphans you have crushed. Therefore, snares are around you, and sudden terror overwhelms you. Or darkness, so that you cannot see, a flood of water covers you." Remember that water is typically a metaphor for divinity. Eliphaz is pointing out, hey buddy, you meet all the qualifications for wicked people that we've established so far. What do you think about that? Of course terrible things are happening to you, and of course you're so scared of God right now. You should be. You've met all the qualifications for needing to fear God. Will you keep to the old way that the wicked have trod? They said to God, "Leave us alone, and what can the Almighty do to us?" Job responds in chapter 23. "Today also my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come even to his dwelling. I would lay my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn what he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me in the greatness of his power? No, but he would give heed to me. There an upright person could reason with him, and I should be acquitted forever by my judge." Job is saying, hey, I know that I have to talk to God about all of this, but I'm trying to find him. I just need God to pay attention to me again, and then I will be able to have this argument, this discussion, and reason with him and find out why my suffering is happening. Job says, if I go forward, he is not there, or backward, I cannot perceive him. On the left he hides, and I cannot behold him. I turn to the right, but I cannot see him. But he knows the way that I take. Job is like, I'm on this path. I don't think God's in front of me, and it doesn't seem like he's with me now. When I look back, I can't see him, but I know that he was there because I know that God knows the way that I take, because God knows everything. God is God. So he's remaining faithful. Again, when he has tested me, I shall come out like gold, Job says. My foot has held fast to his steps. I have kept his way and have not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. I have treasured in my bosom the words of his mouth. But he stands alone, and who can dissuade him? Who can argue with God? What he desires, that he does. For he will complete what he appoints for me, and many such things are in his mind. Therefore, I am terrified at his presence. When I consider, I am in dread of him. God has made my heart faint. The Almighty has terrified me. If only I could vanish in darkness, and thick darkness would cover my face. Job is saying, it seems like God has vanished from me, and I'm terrified. I wish that I could vanish too. So here we are, the end of chapter 23, and we achieved what we set out to do at the beginning. Job has a reason to be God-fearing, and he sees that reason. From here on out, Job talks with another friend, has another response, and then God actually comes down and gives God's reasoning for what is going on and explains that God created all of the earth, and who are these mortals to say anything against God? If you'd like me to read through more of it, let me know, and I will go through in the same way that I did with this. Otherwise, that's the book of Job. I hope you enjoyed it, and like, subscribe, comment down below if you have maybe another book of the Bible you'd like me to read through with you.